back to Get Real. We are continuing our series on relationships, and this week we are looking at making it work. We have, for your viewing pleasure, our panel of youth workers here, and we are all in different relationship statuses, and we are going to start at the end. This is Dan. Dan is currently single. Yeah. Jack and Jess, who are currently dating. This is Rebs, who is engaged. And I'm Laura, and this is Andy, and we are married. Yes. That's our noise, that's great. Before we start anything too serious, what we're going to do is we're going to do a question. So I'll ask a question, and you can all answer with a one-sentence answer. The question is this. Would you kiss someone on a first date? Dan, you go first. Yes, if the chemistry's right. Interesting. Okay. And you've remembered the breath mints? Yeah. Always in my pocket. Yeah, you never know. Jack?
I have done in the past, but I have to say that I wouldn't now. Interesting.
Yeah, quite similar. I have done that before, didn't go great, wouldn't do it again. Yeah.
I've got a great story to share in a minute.
Okay.
And as a result of that story, no, I wouldn't kiss on the first date.
Okay. I think it's a lovely idea in a film, but I would not let anyone in here on my first date, so no.
I would say that I've only officially ever been on one first date, and that was with Matt, my fiance, and we did kiss on our first date, but we had known each other for a long time before that, and been talking a long time before that, so that's probably the only reason why we kissed.
So,
yeah.
My story, I was flirting and texting with this girl from Northern Ireland who I'd met on holiday, and we were on MSN Messenger because I'm really old, and we agreed that she was going to come and visit, so she flew over from Northern Ireland to Liverpool for the weekend, and I took her out. I took her to this nice restaurant in Liverpool, and we were chatting, getting on really great, and after we went out for a meal, we were about to be picked up by my dad because I'm really cool. And the moment just felt right to go in for the kiss. So I did. We had a little kiss, my dad turned up, and it was a bit awkward. But then we had the whole weekend together, and that was the Friday night. On the Saturday, we spent loads of time together, and I began to realise that this just wasn't going to work.
Oh no.
And it was so awkward because halfway through the day I thought, this isn't going to work, and I've already kissed her. And then on Sunday, when it came to dropping her off at the airport, I went in, she checked in, and I didn't want to lead her on.
Oh, Andy.
And instead of going in for a kiss, I literally went, bye, it was a really nice weekend, and patted her on the head. No word of a lie. It was painful, and that is why I would never kiss on the first date. It was so painful.
If you ever get patted on the head, you know it's gone.
It's gone awful.
Okay. So what about then, can you answer the question, at what point do you begin to make a relationship exclusive?
Yeah, so for me, in my relationship, the kind of moment that me and Matt became exclusive was I was actually in quite a bad car crash. I was part of a street dance crew at the time. We were all on our way to a school. It was first thing in the morning, and this car went into the side of our tour van, sent us spinning across the road, and it was quite serious. And once we'd all made sure that we were okay, I thought I'd call Matt and tell him what had happened. He was away at the moment. At that time he was doing some training for work, and I remember him saying that he told his trainer that his girlfriend had been in a car crash, so he might have to leave. And in that moment, even though our van had basically been written off and all that kind of stuff, in that moment when he called me his girlfriend, it was just the best thing ever. So in the midst of all the kind of drama and stuff that was going on around me, that was definitely a defining point in our relationship.
That's really nice. Okay, so when would you say a relationship becomes exclusive?
Interesting. I think the moment where you've both told each other that you like each other and you mutually know that you like each other, I think then it becomes dishonouring to flirt with somebody else. I don't know whether anyone disagrees with that, but I think at that moment, you might not have put a label on it, and you might not have said we're officially an item, or she's my girlfriend, he's my boyfriend, but at that moment, it's dishonouring to flirt with anyone else.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone wants to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think if you're flirting with more than one person, then do you really like either of them that much?
Yeah,
if you're willing to, if you're then willing to flirt with someone else, if you're willing to talk to someone else, actually, are you truly invested in any of them? Because it's like you're sharing yourself among too many people.
Yeah, I agree completely.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think when it came to a point where we knew we needed to define our relationship, like I knew that Laura liked me, but she hadn't said it, and Laura,
it's so obvious.
Laura knew that I liked her, and I hadn't said it, and I knew there was a moment where I was like, right, we have got to talk about this now. And equally, like after that, like we knew that there had to come a point where I said, Laura, will you be my girlfriend? And it just so happened to be the night that Liverpool lost 2-1 to Tottenham Hotspur. And Laura said, why did you choose then? And I thought, well, Liverpool lost and I needed some way to cheer my night up.
So we can say no, innit?
Yeah, that would have been a rubbish day then. But I think it does need defining at some point. You just got to figure out when the right time is.
Right.
Great. What are some of the keys to making a relationship work? What would you say are some of those keys?
I think I would say developing trust is really important. So learning to trust the other person. And I think trust isn't something that you automatically necessarily do, but it's something that you grow and develop over time. I think if you're not sure that you can trust that person with information, you certainly shouldn't be trusting them with your heart. I think also when things go wrong, I've realised this recently, when things go really wrong and you're with someone or you're getting with someone, actually that can be a real opportunity for them to shine. When we were getting together, I was going through something really difficult, and I realised in how you dealt with me at my worst, in my most difficult situation, that made me realise I could trust you and it was right for us to be together. And I think for me as well, not only that, but if you follow Jesus and you're praying about who you're going out with, you're not trusting that person as much as trusting God and saying, do you know what, I'm not sure if this person's going to hurt me, but I trust that God won't let me get hurt. And so that's why it's really important that you involve God in the relationships that you decide to go into.
I think one of the main things I would say is listening to each other. I think a lot of the time we can talk about how it's important to have time talking and like finding out more about each other, but a massive key of that is actually listening and taking time to hear someone else's point of view and how they feel about situations. And I know for me that was quite difficult because I talk non-stop, but I had to learn to actually let Jack speak and let him say how he felt about situations or explain what he thought, because that then gave me an opportunity to learn more about him and kind of understand him more as a person. Really.
Right.
As well as that, I think you've got to speak about your expectations. So at the start of your relationship, you need to talk about actually where do we want this going, what are our beliefs, what do we how do we identify the different parts of our relationship, how do we want to, what things do we want to put into place, and we need to agree on that, because you might get 6 months into a relationship and for those of you who are older, you might actually think, you might journey with someone and think everything's fine, and then the other person turn around and say, you do realise I never want to have children, and you really want to have children. Do you know what I mean? You have different expectations, and you need to talk about those things. You need to talk about your future and what you want from that relationship.
I totally agree.
I think as well, like not forgetting about your friends when you get into a relationship. This was really important when I got into a relationship with Matt. It was actually, both of us had experiences where our friends got into relationships and they it was just all about those two, and it was really difficult to kind of continue friendships. And we understood the importance of actually having your own friends, having that time with your mates, and not just excluding them just because you've got someone else in your life. So as well as prioritising your partner, which I think is really important, is also not forgetting about your mates.
It's great. Really good.
I guess that one of the things that comes to mind when I think about it is understand that it involves sacrifice.
Yeah.
It involves sacrifice. So like, you've got your own interests, they've got their own interests. You know, I think if you really care about that one person, you want to show interest in their interests. If you get what I mean, they'll have hobbies. You want to show interest in their hobbies, not just expect them to sacrifice the things that they care about for the things that you care about. And so that's one of the things. But you touched on friends as well, like. The friends that they have, even though sometimes you may not like every one of their friends, those friends are important to that person. And if that person is important to you, then the things that they care about, and the things that are their friends, and everything that comes with them that they are their interests and they care about, should be important to you. So understanding that involves sacrifice.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to give each other space as well, like not following each other around, doing every single thing together. Like you're gonna do each other's heads in if you reach that point. Like give each other space, allow each other time to breathe, and I think that's some really good advice. I want to ask a question that's a bit of a minefield, particularly when for Christian young people. Should a Christian go out with someone who's not a Christian? It's a massive question.
Well, okay, so I'd like to answer this one. Like, I heard someone once, he kind of rephrased it, and it really, really spoke to me, and he said, maybe not look at it as if, is it right? Think about it like, is it wise? Not, is it wrong or is it right? Is it wise?
That's good.
So, for instance, if you're a Christian, if this relationship that you're going into, is this person going to help you in your faith, going to push you towards growing in your faith, in your relationship with Jesus? Are they going to encourage you to pray about your problems? Are they going to want to pray together? So not, is it wrong or is it right? Is it wise? You know, and there's going to be ways that you want to live your life. That Jesus taught many things, and we believe that we're supposed to live our lives like that. And for example, just one of the examples that we talk about quite a lot in relationships is like sex, which is a controversial thing. And as Christians, we believe that we should wait until we're married for sex. We should save ourselves for that one person we want to spend the rest of our lives with. Now, if you're with someone who doesn't believe that, who isn't a Christian, then they might not think the same things as you. Okay, so that's they wouldn't particularly encourage you to wait until you're married to have sex. Maybe that's something that they want to do because they don't think that it needs that much importance, but it's still important to them, but it doesn't need that much importance. But in the same way, we believe that's important, that's the way you should live your life, but I don't think we should hold those people to Christian standards, because if they don't believe all those things, then in their head, then having sex before marriage, or some of the things that we want to live our lives, in their heads, that's not a wrong thing, that's just part of life. So by holding them to Christian standards, it's not fair on them as well. So that's what I say, not is it right, is it wise?
It's great, Dan. Really good. Really good.
Okay, so how about if you're in a relationship and you fall out, how do you deal with that? So how do you deal with it when you fall out?
Me and Jess
Jumping straight.
quite an interesting story around this. I remember there was this lovely time when Jess and I decided we really wanted to get healthy. We really wanted to get fit, and so we said, you know what, how about we go for a run together? Do you remember? And we said, let's go for a run. So we drove down to the nearest park, to this beautiful place in a forest. It was lovely. We started this run. About 10 minutes in, Jess starts going, oh, my stomach really hurts. It's really painful. And me, I was just like, she's just being a wuss. Come on, keep going, keep running, you can do it. Push through the pain, just push through the pain. She was like, it really hurts. I just kept going, it's fine, stop being a wuss, just keep running. And eventually she just lost it, and you were just like, Jack, I can't keep running. And literally, you crouched down and was just like, oh, don't speak to me, leave me alone. And in that moment, I did have to just, take a step back, and that we've never run together since. We've decided for our relationship it's healthy if we stick to walking. But
it's unhealthy to run.
And funny example, even though it's a funny example, I think the key in that was you understanding why I was so frustrated, and me not just reacting straight away and kind of saying like, you know, you're making me feel like this, but explaining why I was reacting that way, explaining why I was upset or annoyed. And I think that's really key when you maybe have an argument, or maybe you're frustrated with each other, to actually explain it, not just react straight away, and kind of, and maybe even just kind of try and make it obvious by huffing and puffing and like ignoring them, but to explain and give them the opportunity to understand you and to sort it out.
Right.
Really.
I think in an argument it's really easy, isn't it, to reach for the extremes and like, oh, you always say this and you never do this for me, and you always make me feel, and I think actually when you're dealing with conflict, avoiding words like always and never is really, really important.
And like also you've got to speak well of each other. Because like you said, we've been saying, if you're in a relationship, you care about that person, and you've got to speak well of that bit. So if you're, say, speaking to your friends about the argument that you've had, you don't want to put them down. Don't put them down. Don't avoid dealing with it by speaking to your friends and putting that other person down and saying, oh, this is how they react. They always do this. You know, speak well of that person. That's my point.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think as well, like, you need to understand how each other works. Like, I think that's a massive, and I think that can only really come with spending a lot of time with one another. Like, now you guys understand actually that isn't great in your relationship, but you wouldn't know that right at the beginning because you've not been through that. And for me, in my relationship, that was quite a big thing. Like, I used to have so many walls up, and it used to be really, really difficult for Matt to get through to me. But actually, he really understood how I worked, and is trying to work out how he works. And when I get annoyed or frustrated, sometimes I just need a couple of minutes just to calm down, just to take a step back, to reflect on how I'm thinking and how I'm feeling, which I find really hard to do in that moment. And actually, when you're in a relationship, sometimes people want answers there and then, and they need to, like, we need to resolve this, and I'm not leaving until this is sorted. And actually, it's understanding that not everyone works like that, about understanding, actually, I know that you need an answer now, but I need a couple of minutes to try and work out what's going on. I need a couple of minutes to calm down. And it's about coming to that kind of mutual understanding of, give me 2 minutes, I'll try and work out how I'm feeling, and then I can come back to you calmer and clearer, and we can actually have a good discussion about what has just happened.
Right.
Yeah, I think dealing with it quickly is really important too. So not like sitting on how angry you feel and not letting it fester, and 3 days later, because at that point that you do go like, they do one more thing and then you refer back to the last thing they did. I think just dealing with it really quickly is really important. And I think as well, like you almost what you were saying, Dan, like talking to the right people about it for the right reasons. So maybe picking a few friends that you trust, that you get on with really well, who know you and know them, and will give you wise advice for the sake of seeking help, not just to kind of sound off and get angry and vent, but just trying to deal with that in a really healthy way.
Really good.
I know someone who gave the advice of, when you fall out with your partner, whoever it may be, to deal with it over text.
Oh my
because,
word.
Because then you can say things that you wouldn't say in person.
That's horrific.
That is the worst thing to do. Personally, I believe that is just a terrible way to go about it, because you need to learn, if you care about that person, you need to speak to them face to face, you need to talk to them genuinely, face to face, talking about your issues, and learn it. If you find that hard, learn to do it. Do you know what I mean? Don't just avoid it and just resort to text, and particularly texting at night. Do you know what I mean? Like things can just get escalated, and people, like, emotions are going crazy. So if you've fallen out, then you go home and text each other about it at 11 o'clock at night. It's not going to end well, is it?
Tired.
Exactly.
Thinking right.
Okay, so in that we didn't really talk about saying sorry much. So has anybody got any tips on saying sorry, on how to say sorry, when to say sorry?
Yeah, I think that's something that I've definitely had to learn how to do well, and something that I'm wanting to do well. So maybe at the beginning of us being together, if we had an argument, I would say sorry, like really sorry, and then sit in silence, almost waiting for you to say sorry too, and then be like, well, why are you not saying completely blow the whole point of saying sorry. But actually to own your own actions, to own your responsibility of it, and to apologise for the way that you've made that person feel. And my granddad's a really wise man, and he always says sometimes it's better to lose an argument to gain a friend. And I think that's good in relationships as well. Sometimes it's actually better for you to say, you know what, it's not about me winning this argument. I care about your feelings, and I'm going to put those first by apologising.
That's brilliant. That's so good. Guys, we hope this has been helpful for you. This has been episode 2 of Get Real. Join us next time. We are going to be getting real about sex. Wow, look forward to that. See you next time.